Welcome to the Maria Liberati Show, where food meets art, travel, and life. So what does food mean to you? Well, join me on this episode as we have an interview with a cookbook author, Carrie Shapley, who wrote a book that shows us how to have parties using foods from different countries and theme the party to that country. So you can have, a little staycation in that country at your house, or you can just have a get-together with friends and experience foods from other countries, or maybe do a cooking event where you all get together and cook the different foods. But either way, stay tuned for the interview and you will learn more. And before we do our interview, spring is almost here. I was thinking of that as I was doing my walk this morning, and the weather is just so beautiful. I know it's fooling us. I know spring is not here quite yet, but it's nearby. So I wanted to start off by coming up with my top 10 tips for getting ready for spring. Here they are. And my number one tip, my first tip, is to embrace seasonal ingredients. So incorporate fresh spring produce like asparagus, peas, radishes, and strawberries into your meals. They're not only delicious, but they're also packed with lots of good things for you, lots of nutrients. And if you go on my blog at marialiberati.com, you'll find lots of risotto recipes that use asparagus and peas and strawberries. They're so delicious and simple to make. Number two tip is to plan your meals. Save time by planning your meals for the week ahead. Make a shopping list of ingredients you need and prep what you can in advance. And the more you have things planned out, the more time you'll have to enjoy the spring weather. Tip number 3 is spring cleaning your pantry. Use the start of spring as an opportunity to clean out your pantry. Discard expired items and organize your shelves for easy access to ingredients. And again, another way that will give you more time to enjoy the spring weather before the spring is really here. Number 4 is to lighten up your recipes. With warmer weather approaching, consider lighter recipes that focus on fresh vegetables, lean proteins, and whole grains. Think, salads, grilled dishes, and fruit-based desserts. They will make you enjoy spring more because you'll feel lighter as well. Eating those heavier foods that we're used to eating in the winter time just doesn't make you feel your best in the spring. So, lighten up your recipes and you'll definitely notice a difference. Batch cooking is my number 5 tip. Cook larger quantities of your favorite meals and freeze portions. This saves time on busy days and ensures that you always have a healthy option on hand. And if you want to enjoy the spring, you don't want to spend lots of time cooking, but you do want healthy meals, this is a great way to be able to do that. Number 6, experiment with herbs. Fresh herbs like mint, basil, oregano, rosemary, and cilantro add a burst of flavor to your dishes. So parsley too. Try growing your own herb garden for a constant supply. Number 7, I love this one, outdoor picnics. I love eating al fresco, as we call it in Italian, eating outside. So take advantage of the pleasant weather by planning outdoor picnics. Pack simple portable meals like sandwiches, salads, and fruit. And hey, you can go to a park or someplace to have an outdoor picnic, but if you have your own patio or a backyard, set up your own little table and enjoy the outdoor weather by having a little picnic at home if you don't have the time to go to a park. Number 8 is hydrate with infused water. Stay hydrated by drinking plenty of water, and you can add a spring twist by infusing your water with fruits like lemon, cucumber, and berries. They make the water taste so refreshing. Tip number 9 is healthy snacks. Prepare healthy snacks in advance, such as veggie sticks, hummus, and fruit slices, so you will always have quick and nutritious snacks when you're short on time. And my last number 10 tip is to enjoy seasonal activities. Make the most of the longer days and warmer weather by engaging in outdoor activities. Go for a walk, take your dog for a walk, bike ride, or visit a local farmer's market to enjoy the fresh produce and support local farmers. So all of these tips should help you make the most of the season while enjoying delicious food and saving time. And if you have any other tips, please share them with us in the comments on Spotify, where my podcast is, or on my Facebook at Chef Maria Liberati, my Instagram account at Maria Liberati. Just hashtag your tips, The Maria Liberati Show, and we'll share them on the blog for the marialiberatishow.com, or just go directly to the marialiberatishow.com and share your tips there. Stay tuned for this very interesting interview. And my special guest today is Carie Shapley, and she's the cookbook author of 2 books. But today we're going to talk about this one book that I think is just such fun. And it's a cookbook, but there's so many things you can do with it. It's called Party On. Is that right, Carie?
That's correct.
So, Carie, tell us a little bit. I know you told me before we got on, but tell us the premise. Tell everybody the premise, my listeners, the premise of this interesting book.
The book is organized into 10 chapters, 10 countries, 10 finger food parties, and it's meant for novice cooks, experienced cooks. The instructions are clear, concise, and all of that, and it addresses really the 3 major problems that people have if you entertain a lot. One is figuring out the plus recipes part is what to make.
Right.
So how to plan a menu, how to balance dishes nutritionally, and also according to the equipment that you have.
Yes.
That in general, home cooks have 1 oven, 4 burners, and a microwave. And you can only put so many things in that oven at a time.
Yes.
So figuring that out. So what to make, how much to make, and then how to plan your time so that everything's ready at the same time, on time, for your party. So it has both the recipes and then a guide and what I call the going it alone plan. That if you're on your own plan, doing the party, cooking all the recipes in that chapter, what you need to do weeks ahead of time and stash in your freezer, what you need to do days ahead of time and stash in the fridge, and then counting down to the day of the party, what to do that morning, that afternoon, if you're on your own, to have everything ready on time and to be sane and to not, lose your job. You're busy all day, and that the time you have for, party prep that week is an hour or 2 in the evening.
Exactly. But the unique thing about this book is, yes, it's a party themed, but each chapter is a theme of a different country, correct?
Exactly.
So I love the idea that it gives people a way to experience different countries in, having a party themed. So I'm assuming each chapter then that's dedicated to like a specific country has foods that are more prevalent or foods that are traditional for that country. Is that correct?
That's correct, but I was very focused on American home cooks. I grew up in a rural area of the Midwest without access to ethnic food markets, without access to ethnic restaurants. And so I had that very much in mind. So it's taking the ethnic flavors and adapting it for an American audience, so that you don't need a specialty market. You don't need to import foods from somewhere else. Hope they get here in time.
Exactly. Or go online and have to spend hours searching for these foods that I love that, because it's, so I know there are a lot of cookbooks that are out there that have these really very difficult to find foods if you're in the US. And it's nice when you give people the option of experiencing it, but being able to easily find a way to do that, experience the culture, but in a kind of an easy way,
that they're not going to have to spend hours looking for. So that's great.
Right. And I had difficulty, myself. And it's like if I'm having difficulty and I know exactly what I'm looking for and exactly
Exactly.
nobody's going to be able to find this. So I'm
Yeah.
going to hold this up for the viewing
Yes.
audience.
Yes.
This is each chapter starts with a 2-page spread, a
Uh-huh.
photograph of what you get in a buffet if you cook
Uh-huh.
all of the recipes in that chapter. And then this is the going it alone timeline is right on that page, right at the start of the chapter. So this
Uh-huh.
is the Ethiopia spread, and this is a perfect case in point. So there's a snack food in Ethiopia called kolo
Yeah.
that I
That.
just loved the idea of it, and it has roasted barley and it has nuts and seeds and all this stuff that we cannot
Wow.
in the United States.
Yeah.
We cannot get it in the United States,
Uh-huh.
and too hard to come by. And the cooking techniques, their um, traditional kitchen in Ethiopia is very different from
Uh-huh.
ours. So
Uh-huh.
the burners that they're using, the pots and pans that they're using, the cooking techniques that are common there are very uncommon here. So it's like,
Yes.
I'm sorry, but no American,
Gonna be
especially
able.
novice cook, is going to be able to master all of this, and they're not going to invest in an Ethiopian stove.
Right, for one
No,
recipe. Yes.
one recipe. Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. So I've adapted that,
Mm-hmm.
the same spirit of it. There's one kind of a dabo that's a uh, wait, I may have this wrong. The two words switched up. Um, that is like a pretzel. It's an Ethiopian pretzel that uses wheat flour,
Okay.
water, oil, that kind of stuff, and then the spice blend to make it authentic. So that then you make the dabo you make and bake, and that can be done with American equipment and American ingredients, but
Uh-huh.
it's a very Ethiopian thing, and then that goes into the mix
Mm-hmm.
with the roasted nuts and seeds and other things that Americans can actually
That
get.
Americans can find. Yes, yes.
Yes,
So that's
yes,
that's great because yes, I imagine there are some things that are just almost impossible to. I mean, it has gotten easier because we have so many ethnic markets around, but
sure,
yet
sure, sure,
not all parts of the country do have access to those, and not
sure.
all
This
ingredients are accessible.
Right. To
So,
cook Indian food, India
uh-huh.
is another chapter in the book.
Hmm.
To cook Indian food authentically, you need an Indian market. You need to get the spices and the kinds of peppers that grow in that part of country. All of it. It makes a difference where something is grown, how it's processed, and
Right.
it's all. So you need to go to an Indian market to get authentic spices. But what I replicated
Hmm.
um, comes pretty darn close because I actually have friends from India, so I took them lunch and said, "Could you tell me what you think?" And their response was hotter,
Uh-huh.
but that the flavor profile was spot on.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's great. Very good. That's good. I love the way
Of
you
course, it was
also.
hot enough that it was making me sweat profusely. I could
Oh my
hardly eat
goodness.
it.
Yes,
They said
yes.
hotter.
Oh my gosh.
And those guidelines are in the book as well. That if you're cooking for your Indian friends, you're
Uh-huh.
going to want to go with the high end of
Right.
the heat, and I have that in there. And if you're cooking for kids, you're going to want to dial that down.
Dial that down. Yes, exactly. Exactly. So you have the foods that you have are like for buffet style parties, right? Is
All
that what?
finger food parties. So the only utensil you might need is a toothpick.
Oh, okay. That's great.
So
That's
I love that kind of party where you're snacking and
yes,
where you have the buffet has really something for everyone. So that when
exactly.
you're dealing with uh, lactose intolerant and gluten intolerant and somebody on the paleo diet and carnivores and vegans and all of that, it's a really easy mix to
Exactly.
address when you're making a bunch of bite-sized food.
Exactly.
So each chapter is 10 to 12 dishes. One is a sweet, and the rest are all um, like main dishy kind of things or vegetable sides.
Okay. Okay. That sounds
Or
that's
fruit
great.
dip, or the Brazilian has a roasted pineapple that's fabulous.
That sounds wonderful. Yeah, that does sound great. That's great. And also, it's a, it's a great way. I was just saying you could do like a staycation,
Yes.
you want to take a trip to Brazil, or maybe you're taking a trip to this other country. Maybe you
Or-
want to experience, get a little flavor, experience it. Or if you have a group of friends that maybe meet every so often, you might want to try one of these themed parties to kind of mix up what you usually do. It's not
Absolutely.
usual
Abs-
fare. And you can really theme it up with not only the food, but other, decor that would be similar to that country to really make it
Absolutely.
like you're kind of almost experiencing that that country. So
Absolutely.
one country I'm curious about, what did you do for Italy? What do you have in the buffet there?
Italy was very interesting because I had the chapter nearly done when
Uh-huh.
I learned about Italian pizza.
Uh-huh.
And I had no idea that Italian pizza was so different from American pizza. So I set myself on a quest that actually delayed publication of the book, um,
Uh-huh.
because I went down that rabbit hole. So experimenting with the fermented doughs and with the different kinds of dough and the regional things. And there is no pepperoni on any pizza in Italy. And that was a revelation to me.
Yes.
So then it was a matter of, okay, so I want to do a pizza party for Italy. I says to myself, how can you possibly do that again in an American kitchen where you've got one oven, four
Right.
burners, one microwave? Um, so I was very pleased with myself that I figured it out how to do that and which pizzas could be made ahead.
Uh-huh.
So the Sicilian pizza that's almost like a focaccia, that's
Right.
thicker crust and lots
Yes.
of stuff on top of it. That tolerates freezing and reheating really well, really
Yes.
well. Leave it whole. Don't cut it until after you've reheated it. So there's three different crusts. So there's 8 pizzas in all.
Uh-huh.
So there's 3 different crusts and what is it? 2 and 2 and 4
Uh-huh.
pizzas. So there's 2 Sicilian style pizzas. There's two. Um, it's Romano, and it's
Neapolitan.
there you
Neapolitan.
there you go. There's 2
That's that.
Neapolitan and 4 Romano, and then Neapolitan is the thin, crispy, almost crackery kind of
Yes.
crust, and then the
Yes. Yes.
Neapolitan is what Americans would consider a hand tossed crust.
Right.
And then the Sicilian is not really deep dish. Some people call it a Detroit style, but it's really more of a focaccia. It's much breadier than the other kinds. So anyway, so I did it. Figured out what could be made ahead, what had to be done. The
Uh-huh.
Neapolitans have to be served fresh from the oven. They have to be
Yes.
baked at the last minute. But
Yes.
in general, you can fit 2 pizzas in your oven. So
Right. Yes.
those 2 pizzas are the last thing to go in and come out and go onto the buffet. Everything else had
Right.
to be figured out around that. So so that's what the Italy chapter is. And
That's
then
with the Italy, and that was great. I love it that you did a pizza party.
I
That's
did
that's perfect.
I
That's
did a mixed
really
party for 12, and
yes.
then there's marinated vegetable skewers that go with it,
Uh-huh.
and a lemon ricotta cake.
Oh, yummy. Yes, that's yeah, I know that's a big favorite of many that I know, the lemon ricotta.
Yeah,
Definitely. That's great. That's
and
great.
it's a great cake. Just the texture of it, and it's almost like a pound cake in the feel of it. So you can wander around eating a piece of
Yes.
cake and not
Yes.
disturb your friend's house.
Exactly, exactly. And it's really so simple, I guess you could say, the taste, the flavor, but it's so delicious. There's not a whole lot of lots and lots of ingredients in it, but it's just
And it doesn't have to be
it's
frosted.
right, exactly. Doesn't have to be frosted. It's delicious. That's great. Well, Carrie, we're almost out of time. So excuse me, tell people where they can find your book,
They
Party On.
can they can find Party On at Amazon, Barnes and Noble. They can also get it from my publisher, which is warrenpublishing.com, um,
Okay.
and from any local retailer. It's available through full distribution. They may have to ask for it if it's not on the shelf, but it's
Exactly.
widely available.
Uh-huh.
And they can find me on Instagram at Carie Shapley.
Great, great. Thank you. Much success with the book. I just love the idea. I think that's such a great idea. And who knows, maybe we'll see you again in the future with one of your next books.
That'd be awesome.
Great. Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Maria Liberati Show, and thanks to my special guest. And as always, thanks to my producer, Britton Roselle. And as always, you can find me at, you can find me at themarialiberatishow.com, where you'll find some info on some of the podcasts that we're doing. And you can also find me at marialiberati.com. You can find me on Instagram at Maria Liberati, on Facebook at Chef Maria Liberati, on Pinterest at Maria Liberati, on Twitter or X at Maria Liberati, on LinkedIn at M Liberati, on Vimeo. You can find me at Maria Liberati, where you'll find lots of video of different cooking shows and interviews. On YouTube, we have a channel called The Maria Liberati Show, so you can find us there as well. And you can find my Gourmand World award-winning book series, The Basic Art of Italian Cooking, on Amazon, on Kindle, on Barnes & Noble, and on the publisher's website, Art of Living Prima Media. And we are now on the Basic Art of Italian Cooking by Maria Liberati is now on the Binge Networks. You can find a lot of my cooking series on the Binge Networks. It's streaming there, so you can find it there. And until next time, peace, love, and pasta.